So in this class we are going to start with the next part of your organization design that we are discussing in the previous class. So these are the types of formal organizational design structures that we were discussed in our previous class. The first one was line organizational structure and design. This was already been studied. Next one was the functional organizational structure and design. This was already discussed. Next one was the line and staff organizational structure and design, or this also being discussed, and the divisional organizations. These four were being discussed. The last three were your project based organizations, matrix organizations, and hybrid organizations. So in project based organizations, you can see these are temporary in nature and are developed to fulfill some defined sets of results for a project. Because I just covered an overview of it in the previous lecture itself, that this is a temporary, this is completely temporary in nature based on the particular project. Because all of you know, in IT sector and even in civil site works, there are projects being assigned for a certain tenure, not for a complete, means it is not a particular work is being done for the entire lifetime of that particular organization. It is not like that. The organizations that are project based, so in those particular organizations you need to do a time limit of a certain, suppose you are assigned with a particular project, you need to get the result in that particular tenure only. So in those particular organizations you require these project based organizations, means the organization which is dependent on a certain project. So based on that tenure of the project, you are these organizations work. So in these types of organizations, they have a certain team with different skill sets that work in certain areas, or those who have a certain function in their own department. So specific resources like budget, time, manpower are assigned in a particular project until its completion, not for the lifetime of that particular organization. Again I repeat, these particular organizations work for a certain project for a certain limited time period. So based on that limited time period, certain manpower, certain budget and certain time is being assigned, and accordingly the project is being executed. The fourth point, you can see, after the completion of the project, the manpower of the project goes back to the respective departments. So after the project, suppose a project is been assigned for 2 years, in 2 years time you need to get this particular output. So after the output you have achieved, after the time period of that particular project is over, the persons who are assigned with that project goes back to their respective departments, because they are the manpower of the company, they are not the manpower of the project. So once they are done with their job, they go back to their original designation with their respective jobs. So for example, in case of IT companies where there are lots of projects like designing and developing software for any college or any industry or anywhere, so this is another example, this is one of the examples where we have already discussed this thing, that this is a project based organization. This IT sector, even in civil engineering sites, these are all project based organizations. So to handle these different teams of different functions of the IT department, like planning, designing, developing, testing, etc., come into play and are allocated with their respective tasks. Next is matrix organization. So in this type of organizations that work on dual relationship in terms of responsibilities that are ushered above the employees. So these are the matrix is basically, it is not very relevant in your organization, but this is a type of organization which is still there, but it is not relevant as such with the other. You can see these are the total 7 types of organization structures are there. For formal I am talking about. So in this 7, it is not that much relevant, but it is still there, which is happening in more or less in less number of companies, but it is still relevant. So employees in such organization report to both the functional head and the project head. So you can understand it is a bit cumbersome in that particular aspect, because the functional head, project head, those are been overburdened with the job, because all the employees are reporting to both of them. So it is not one by one, means as we have already discussed in formal organization, what happens from the top to the bottom layer, the various instructions are being passed on. So and from the bottom level to the top level, one by one, the what is being executed is being looked after from bottom to the upper level. So but in this particular type of organization, all the employees of that particular organization has to report to the ultimate authority, which is a bit cumbersome for the ultimate authority in order to handle all the manpower, because all of them are coming for the means what they have done, and accordingly what is the productivity, they come to the departmental heads or the project head, and accordingly they tell what they have done. So it is bit cumbersome, but it is still there, not that much relevant nowadays, but it is still there. So you can see, for example, this is an odd example of it. In matrix organizations, HR team report HR team members will report to the project manager, that is hiring manager of real estate recruitment project, and the HR manager for their functional tasks. So the HR team members will have to report to the project manager. Along with that, there are many other team members who will report to the project manager. So as a result, the project manager job is a bit cumbersome, because he has to listen to all these stuffs and accordingly has to decide. So the load on the project manager is a lot more than the other types of formal organizations that are relevant nowadays. Next is the hybrid organization. So in hybrid organizations, you can see it is a combination of values and elements which are based on social impacts in different sectors like private, public, etc., and revenue generation. So why it is called hybrid? Because it works on the combination of functional and product organization. Okay, so basically if you see, when organizations combine to fulfill some social and profit generating goals, this is known as hybrid organization, because they are combining, the organizations are combining in order to fulfill the social as well as profit generating goals. That's why it is called a hybrid organization. So it is quite relevant. Hybrid organization is one of the most relevant types of organization that is happening right now. And nowadays most of the companies are following this particular type of organization. You can see various MNCs work on this particular structure, where they have the head office in the country and they have also international offices in different countries, and the seniors or the heads of these countries report to the CEO of the head office. So most of the companies are national based as well as internationally based as well. So but there is an ultimate head office there. It may be situated in the country, it may be situated outside the country as well. So based on where it is situated, or even within the country, outside the country, all those individual production heads will report to the ultimate CEO of the head office. So this is the way in which your hybrid organization works. So how do you implement the organizational design? So how do you implement, means which particular organization type will implement for the function of the particular organization. So there are 4 points you can see. The task of implementing organizational redesign is a bit challenging, because it requires changes throughout the organization. You can understand, because if you want to cut down, or if you want to look into one part or one level of the organization, then the subsequent layers or the levels of the organization gets a bit disturbed. So this redesign and restructuring is a bit difficult in that particular aspect. Or if you want to change the complete organization structure, suppose you have implemented, suppose point number 2, that is the functional organizational structure and design. Suppose you have implemented this functional organizational structure and you want to based on the job profile, you have decided to change that organization structure into this project based organization structure. So in that case, this complete redesigning and restructuring is a bit cumbersome. So it is also time consuming. You need to produce more skill, more manpower, more resources into account, and as a result the complete system gets disrupted. So beforehand you need to specify, while opening an organization you need to specify that which particular organizational type we need to follow, and accordingly you need to follow that only. And otherwise, in the while operating that organization, in the meantime, if you want to change it, if you want to change from one to another, so it requires a complete redesigning, a restructuring, which eventually affects the complete productivity of that particular organization. Next thing, lots of things are rearranged, that is types of equipment, facilities, etc. As I've already told you, the facilities, equipments, that all the other resources that are required in a particular company, you need to rearrange all those. So due to this fact, it is a lot cumbersome, and this particular aspect is taken into account while formulating the particular organizational type you will follow in a particular company. Next is, training is provided to the employees including the top management for new design and skills in demand. Because you are you are selecting the type of organization. I am talking about the formal organization itself. So as because you are selecting the type of formal organization beforehand, before eventually getting started up with the company, so you need to procure the manpower. After you have procured the manpower, you need to give the training based on the skill set of the people you have employed, and also the demand of the job. The demand of the job and the skill what the employees does have, based on that you need to provide training to the companies, to the employees, right? Because whenever, suppose you the students, whenever you will be going for, suppose you are you are being employed in a particular company, each and every company have their individual training period where it is being shown that what you need to do, how you need to do certain things, and accordingly what are the skill sets you need to develop certain skill sets. You may not have all the skill sets that is already being inculcated to you beforehand during your course of BTech. That is that is quite relevant while you will be operating in the site at the site, but with that we need a certain skill set that is relevant in that particular company, which you may not have studied. So this training is given to the employees in each and every company, starting from an IT sector to a civil engineering site or a design company, anywhere these trainings are being provided to the employees. So if you change the formulation of your organizational structure, this training becomes irrelevant. Whatever you have given, whatever training you have given beforehand, it becomes irrelevant. So as a result, what happens, again you need to go for the training based on the new organizational structure, and this complete training period and all this requires quite a number of days, even months, even years for the training purpose. Or also all of the existing employees may not be able to adapt to the new training. So this completely disrupts the your productivity of the particular organization. So this is the thing you need to take into account beforehand. So you can last point, you can see there is a change in different systems like PMS, rewards, recognition, MIS, decision making process, etc. These are the very basics, you can understand these things. Next is we will go into the summary. So the summary, first point, you can see redesigning organizational structure always comes with great improvement in terms of quality, customer satisfaction, and improved customer service. But it also accompanies your increase in productivity. But this redesigning should be done based on the fact that your company total productivity is not getting diminished. It may get diminished for a certain period of time because of this redesigning, but eventually in the long run the company should be able to produce more, so that it effectively benefits the productivity of that company. You need to take this thing into account. There will, if you want to do a redesigning, you may do it, but certainly that redesigning should be done accordingly. That suppose your company's productivity is being shut down for 2 months, so in those 2 months the company has to provide the salary to all the individual employees. They have to provide the employee salary, so they are not getting any productivity. So the net revenue what they are generating is negative, because they have to give the payments to the employees, but they are not getting anything because of the selling of the services to the customers. But eventually in long run, if it's seen that uh, uh, the productivity, the revenue which you are collecting from the productivity at this point of time is way less than what is the productivity you will be getting after redesigning. Maybe 2 months the company shut down, it may happen, but in the long run process, the whatever revenue you are generating should be a profitable thing. Even if you have shut down the company for 2 months, it should be looked into account. Next point, organizational design is useful in all types of organizations irrespective of the size and business type. Yes, of course, this is already being studied. How much time is required to redesign any organization depends on its size, structure, and nature of the business and resources available. Of course, the size of the company, the structure, that means the existing structure, and the nature of the business, the productivity, the type of productivity the company is going for, and what are the available resources for that particular company. This will be taken into account for your redesign purpose. Next, the last point, it takes much time and resources to redesign large organizations having complex structure, wherein small organizations can be redesigned in far less time with fewer resources. This is completely understandable. If you are a large organization, the redesign requires a bit lengthy process, because there are many people who are being employed in that company, and accordingly many people means many levels are there in that particular organization. So you need to disturb each and every level for this complete redesign of that organizational structure. But in a small firm, there are less people involved in that particular organization, and this redesigning will require less time, because the number of levels in that particular company is less. So the redesigning will certainly require less number of months, you can say, because the manpower which is involved in that particular organization is way less, so the levels are less. So whatever resources are there, it is adequately less for that particular company, because it is a small firm. But the resources, this modulation of the resources, manpower, everything will be way less for a small firm with respect to a large firm, because the available resources, the available manpower and available things which are there in the company for a small firm is less than the a large firm. Next is the elements of organizational design. So what are the elements? There are 6 elements of an organizational design and structure. First is the chain of command or the line of command. Next is the span of control. Third point is centralization. Fourth point is specialization. Fifth is the formulation, and sixth is the departmentalization. So the first one is chain of command or line of command. So in this particular thing, the authority and the power are delegated from the top to the bottom, as we have already discussed in our previous class. From the top to the bottom, there are various levels of employees, so each is responsible for the work being assigned to them by the higher level of the employee. So the instructions, you can see, is given from the to the bottom team by the subsequent above team. So in this way, the total chain of command works. So from the top to the next bottom, from that bottom to the next bottom, in this way the complete instruction is being passed on from the topmost level to the bottommost level. So second point, further the accountability of an employee's job flows upward to the management. As we have already discussed, from the bottom, from the top to the bottom, the instructions are being flown, and the accountability of the job is being flown from the bottom to the topmost position, because the persons who are working at the lowest most position will be accountable to the particular job he is assigned with, to the level which is higher than him. So he will be reporting it to the higher authority that this was his task, he has performed this amount of tasks, and accordingly that level of the company will report to the next higher authority. In this way, the accountability of the employee's job is being taken care from the bottom level to the higher level. Next is the third point, it gives clarity of the reporting structure in an organization. So the clarity of the reporting structure is way more clear in this type of in this chain of command. So let us see one example of it. So in a this is known as wider chain. In the left side you can see wider chain of command, and in the right side you can see narrow chain of command. Why it is known as wider chain of command? Because the levels, you can see there are 6 levels in this particular structure. 6 levels, that is the chief executive officer will pass his command to the vice president. The vice president is going to pass his command to the general manager. The general manager will pass his command to the senior manager, and accordingly the senior manager will pass his command to the manager, and the manager will pass it to the officers or executives. So you can see there are 6 levels. So as because there are 6 levels in this particular company, so it is known as wider chain of command with respect to the beside one, which is known as narrow chain of command. Here you can see only 3 levels are there, that is the CEO is there, his instructions will be followed by the manager, and the manager's instructions will be followed by the officers and executive. So wider chain means vertically the number of levels which are there will be more than the narrow chain of commands. In the wider, you can see that this is an odd example where there are 6 levels, and this is an odd example where there is 3 levels. So what are the pros and cons? The first pro is delegation of authority by superiors to subordinates. This is the pro. So there is a complete flow of the instructions which is beneficial to the company. There is a clear communication. This is another pro. The information which is passed on from one level to another, due to this there is a clear communication. There is no communication gap in this particular aspect. Next is last pro is few managers and more employee empowerment. You can see in this particular type of organization there are few managers that are only involved, and there are more number of employees and workers or officers who are working under those few managers. Next is the cons. What are the cons in this particular aspect? Decision making barriers, because suppose the vice president is taking a decision, so while he is taking the decision, he has to keep in mind that the CEO of the company is giving his positives to that particular decision he is taken, right? Similarly, the general manager is taking a certain decision. He has to make sure that the VP of that particular company is agreeing to his decision, and the CEO is also agreeing to that decision, right? In this way, you can see that there is a certainly decision making barriers, because at each level the persons who are working at each level will have to think about the thinking of the persons who are involved in that particular organization above them, right? He has to accordingly execute his decisions, and as a result certainly there is a decision making barrier in this particular type of organization. Next is the managers are overloaded, because you can see the managers, all these managers uh, they have to directly report to the step by step they have to report to the CEO. So the officers and executive, because the officers and executives are quite more in number, so each of them are reporting to the manager. The manager is taking the lump sum of the things and reporting to the senior manager. So what is happening, these particular the managerial posts are overburdened with certain tasks. So this is a con, of course this is a con. Next is it requires more skilled and trained managers, because these managers are overburdened with jobs. So they need there is a need for skilled manager in this particular thing. Next is the span of control. The previous one, the line was control, was in vertical direction. In span of control, basically it demonstrates how wide is the area of the direct control of the supervisors. That means horizontally how many levels are there. It depicts this. It is depicted by this span of control. Okay, so you can see it is directly related to how many subordinates report to a senior or supervisor. Okay, so you can see under your manager cells there are certainly 6 officers who are reporting to the manager scale. So this is the span of control. The span of control is these particular 6 levels are being, these 6 sales managers are being called by the manager cells, and accordingly they report to the manager cells, and the manager cell will take the summary of it and report to the general manager. So this is known as the wide span of control. Span of control means in the horizontal direction how many subsets are there. You can see 6 subsets are there for the sales officer. So what is the pro? There is an increase in productivity due to the close monitoring of employees' performance by supervisors. So the sales officer, there are 6 sales officer, so 6 of them will be individually looking into the productivity. Say there are certain teams that will be coming under each 6 one of them, means each one of them, the 6 sales manager officer will be looking into that, and accordingly he will try to increase the sales of each of those, means his assigned area, and accordingly all these 6 areas productivity will increase, and as a result the whole company's productivity will increase. Second point is increase in quality and profit. Of course, this is another point. Third point is clear communication due to direct supervision. There is of course a clear communication. You can see this after suppose the first sales officer is not able to produce the required sales, then he will report to the sales manager sales, and accordingly the work will be executed. So there is a clear communication between the supervisor and the laborers or the employees who are working under him. And there is in this particular another point is there, that is conflict resolution and clear instruction. It is easily, the instruction are being easily passed on, and there is a if there is a conflict, it can be resolved then and there itself, because these 6 are working independently of each other. These 6 sales officers are working independently of each other, so there is less scope of conflict. And if there is conflict, they can easily go to the manager cells and they can tell their problem, and the manager cells can resolve that particular problem. So cons. So what is the con? It is not feasible for big organizations due to tight management control on everything. For big organizations, this wide span of control is not feasible. Next is delay in decision making due to dependency on management, because it is basically a problem which is being addressed in your formal organizational structure, because there is a chain of control total. So there is a delay in decision making, because as I have already discussed in your previous one also, the levels of employees who are working under a certain level will have to think about the decisions, whether the persons who are heading that particular level will agree upon the decision being taken by them. So accordingly the total decision making gets hampered. Less sense of belongings by employees and less initiatives, as because it is quite diversified. You can see this is quite diversified. So there is a typically less sense of belongings among the employees and less initiatives being taken by them. There are also office politics due to power centralization, because the manager sales is the ultimate head of these six, all these six. So suppose the manager sales is suppose favoring sales officer number 1 and sales officer number 6, so he will favor them, he will try to protect these two sales officer, right? But these four will certainly not get the beneficial things like the first and the last sales officer are getting from the manager sales. See, because he is trying to protect them, so these four may not be able to get means they might be the victim of this politics due to this centralization. Next is specialization. So in specialization, large organizations divide some of its functions based on the specialized areas, and subtasks are defined in different tasks. Okay, so basically the based on the employees performance and their specified areas, the company divides the complete area of production into certain areas where they will be employing the manpower. So based on the specialization, the various employees are given their task. So you can see high level specialization. The sales and marketing are being disintegrated into two parts, that is domestic and international exports. The domestic is looking after the north and south part, and there is another office which is looking into east and west part. So the north and south is looking after the sales officer, and the east and west part is also looking under the sales officer of that particular area. For the international and exports, you can see, suppose it is being divided into two parts, Canada export is there and your Middle East and Gulf export is there. So there also you have the sales executive for the Middle East part, and also for the Canada part there is another sales officer who is looking into the sales in the Canada section. So this is the low level specialization, where you can see the sales and marketing, irrespective of the areas, it is directly looking into four different parts of the sales. The sales and marketing are distributed themselves into four different parts irrespective of the areas, and they are looking after their individual sales. So what are the pros and cons of specialization? The pros are there is increased production of productivity in this particular thing, because the persons who are working in the specialized area, so there is of course going to be more productivity. There is increase in job satisfaction, because the person which is accustomed to a particular job is doing that job only, they need not to learn new things. So there is more job satisfaction among the employees. Increase in product quality, of course, because the persons concerned are looking into their personal productivity, so the quality of that particular productivity is going to increase. What are the cons? There is increase in cost, and there is increase in employee turnover due to similar kind of job. Also, the certain section of the people look to employ themselves in different jobs, they want to get all-rounders. So if this is not relevant in the company, this section of the people look to lay themselves off from the job. So there is certainly after some time there may be employee turnover, the employees may leave the job and they may look into another organization where they will be able to learn different things. There is certain section of the people. Now similarly, many of you are there who are looking to learn new and new subjects. Similarly, while going for the job, suppose you have done a job for us in a certain sector for 1 year, then it may seem to you that you want to learn new things. So you may leave that particular job and want to go to another job where you will be able to learn new things. So if this is the mentality of the people who are being employed, then those particular people will look to get themselves rid of that particular job, and as a result the employee turnover may be there due to the similarity of the job profile. Next is formalization. So formalization refers to the process of specifying or mentoring rules, procedures and duties to the employees as an individual as well as teams, departments, units in written form too. So formalization means, what it does mean, there is a certain goal and vision of an organization, and there is a hierarchy in which that goals and vision of that organization needs to be achieved. So this is formally being written, and it is being passed on to each and every employees that this is the goal of yours, this is the vision of yours, and you need to get your job done within this span of time. So certainly these are the goals and visions that are being given or assigned to each of the employees of an organization, and accordingly they try to achieve that. That's why this is known as formalization. Third point, a formal organization emphasizes on the job roles, responsibility, and assigning works to the individuals as per the requirement of the roles. They are being controlled by rules and procedures because it is a formal one. So all the employees are being controlled by the rules and procedures that are being given to them. Whereas in informal organization, it emphasizes on individuals, and the job responsibilities are designed based on individual employee skills and preferences irrespective of the department in which he and she is working. So in formal organization, irrespective of your specialization, you are given the particular assignment, but in informal organization, based on your skill set, the employees are given their particular assignment. Next is the managerial. You can see this is the formal organization. The managerial director will be heading the domestic sales and marketing, the international sales and marketing, and the customer service and after sales service. So below the domestic sales and marketing will come the head sales and marketing. Below the international sales will come the head sales and marketing as well, and your customer service, below them will come the head customer care. So what are the pros? There is increase in efficiency. This is a pro. There is smooth flow of authority, because if this is maintained, there will be smooth flow of authority. The last pro is more disciplined staff and less ambiguity. So the discipline of the staff is increased in this way if you follow this particular flow chart. So what are the cons? Again, lengthy decision making process is almost the con for each and every your formal organizational structure. Next is reduced professional morale of employees. There is a reduction in professional morale of the employees because they are doing their same job over and out again and again. So that's why there is a reduction in the professional morale of the employees. And the last one is rigid and formal relations, because this is a formal organization, so there is a rigidity because of the formal relations between the employees. There is a rigidity in the complete process. In informal organization, you can see the managerial director is controlling each of these three sectors, that is domestic sales, international sales, and customer service. But the domestic sales is looking after the head sales and marketing of themselves, as well as it is looking into the international head sales and marketing department as well. Similarly, international sales is looking after head sales and marketing of at international level, as well as it is looking after the head sales and marketing of the domestic level, as well as it is looking after the head customer care. Okay, so it is not like that one of them is controlling the level beyond them only. There are multiple at each level there are multiple sectors which are looking after multiple sectors as well. So what are the pros? There is a better communication, positive impact on productivity, because these international, suppose the domestic sales is not producing the expected output, then the domestic sales marketing will try to take the accountability of it, as well as the international sales will go to them and ask why it is not happening. So they are accountable. This particular part will be accountable to both of these, that is domestic sales as well as international sales. So as a result, due to this fear psychosis of the employees who are working in this particular sector, because they are not only accountable to one head, they are accountable to this and this, that is international sales as well as domestic sales. So that's why there is an increase in productivity due to the fear psychosis. And also it means social needs. And what are the cons? There is a lacking in specialization, and the changes which are there are not accepted easily. Last is departmentalization. So in departmentalization, it is the process of dividing organizational functions into different departments as per specialization of jobs or responsibilities, so that the common task can be handled by the specialized teams. That means the different departments are divided into different functions. They are assigned with different functions based on the specializations they have. So in rigid departmentalization, there is almost no interaction between different teams, or each team works as per the area of specialization. Whereas in loose departmentalization, the teams are free to interact with each other and go for together for common tasks. So this is one rigid departmentalization flowchart you can see, where the managerial director is heading your sales, domestic sales and marketing, as well as international sales and marketing, and the domestic sales and marketing is heading your regional sales of east and west, as well as regional sales of the north and south, and the international sales is heading your Middle East, as well as your Canada zone. So what are the pros? Better coordination of activities, experts help in delegation of tasks and solutions, and better control of the total environment. What are the cons? There is over specialization in this particular aspect, misuse of authority by specialized, because domestic sales is heading this particular sector, so he may benefit one of them, and accordingly the productivity of that particular part may increase, as well as a result the productivity of other may go down, and as a result this misuse of the authority by specialist is relevant in this type of rigid departmentalization. And also slow decision making, as we have already discussed, more or less in every aspect this is a common point. The last one is the loose departmentalization. You can see the managing director is heading your sales, domestic sales as well as international sales, and these two are controlling both the east west as well as your Middle East. Means domestic sales are controlling all the four, that is your Middle East as well as Canada. Domestic sales, they are looking after this also, and the international sales are looking in the national market also. So this is a loose departmentalization. So what are the pros? There is flexibility in this particular aspect. There is a flexibility. Next is increase in efficiency is there. Because of this loose control, there is the people who can produce more outputs will be able to produce more outputs as a result, and there is more motivated workforce because all of them are set free. So the productivity or the motivation among the employees will be more. And the cons, increase in ambiguity. There is a increase in ambiguity because of this structure, and also slow decision making, which is relevant in almost all. So this is the way, or these are the types of various organizations or the organization structure you can see. So we conclude here. If you have any doubt, you are free to ask me. So thank you.